Welcome to the next video in the Calm Kids Without Yelling formula. We're going to get straight into the four-step process being the S.I.C.I method, which is really going to help us create space. And during this video, you're going to be taught a couple of things. Number one, a quick overview of what the S.I.C.I method is in its entirety, and then we're going to dive into step number one. And in this module, you're going to be taught how to separate from the automatic reactions that take control when you're under stress. This is the parts of you that hijack your emotions, your words, and your actions in the heat of the moment. And the reason that you'll be taught this is so that you as parents can recognize when you've been pulled back into those old survival patterns and consciously step back into self-leadership in order to bring stability, calm, and emotional authority back into your home. And by the end of this video, you'll be able to effectively identify when you're fused back with the old patterns. You'll be able to effectively identify when you've been fused with the reactive part, create space between the stimulus and the response, and lead yourself back into calm before you begin leading your family. But before we begin, it's important for you to understand what the S.I.C.I method is. But before we begin, it's important for you to identify what the S.I.C.I method is and why it works. The S.I.C.I method is a four-step framework rooted in neuroscience, psychology, and behavioral science that helps you rewire your system from reaction to response. It helps you rewire your system from reaction into regulation. It's a proven framework for emotional mastery and self-leadership, which is the key to breaking those cycles of yelling, of guilt, and of chaos you're experiencing at home. The four steps, separate, investigate, collaborate, and integrate, guide you to understand what's happening inside of your mind, your brain, and your body in those moments where you lose control. It's those times when you're triggered, you're reacting in a way that you said that you never would, so that you can get out of that reactionary space, out of that space of psychological and neurological survival, and start responding with that calm authority that your children will energetically sync up to and then match your emotional leadership. In the first two videos, you learned what happens when your brain becomes overwhelmed and how your presence, your energy, affects your child's emotional state. You saw how when our brain is at capacity, it triggers our default mode network, which is just our automatic reactions, our quickest and fastest ways that we can shut down the information we're processing to prevent that neurological overload, and how those same neural pathways have just been running the show for years. You saw how your energy field affects your child's ability to stay calm and regulated. Remember, our children sync up to our energy field, not the other way around, although sometimes it feels like it's the other way around. When we're calm, they're calm. When we're chaotic and crazy, they match and they mirror that chaos. Now we're taking that understanding a layer deeper into your internal world. So before we can lead our family, before we can make sure that we got their morning routine set, they're not running around like headless chickens at nighttime once they've had a shower and you're trying to get them in bed. They're not forgetting a bunch of different things, or you have 3 different kids that all need different levels of focus within yourself. Before we can have any level of control over our family, we need to first learn how to manage and how to lead our internal family system. Now, each one of us, we have our own fractured psyche, if you will. We have our own internal family. And our internal family is all of our different sub-personalities that pop out that have different personality traits. And we call these things parts. There might be a part of us that's able to handle a situation really, really calmly. There might be a part of us that just loses it when we're triggered or when we see a particular thing. There might be a part of us that has certain goals that we want to go and achieve, but then there's another part of us that doesn't believe we can achieve it, so we might sabotage or run those stories of negative self-doubt or whatever else it might be. And each one of these sub-personalities, or parts as we'll call them parts from here on out, each one of these parts is linked to a different past experience that's happened, potentially from a core experience or a core memory or a wound that's happened to a child, or any of the unforeseen experiences that we grew up with as we were programmed and conditioned by our outside world for how we should react and respond in various situations. And each one of these parts was created for a reason, okay? Each one of these parts of us was created to protect us from a pain or a perceived threat, a rejection or a fear, right? And these different parts of us, they're like dedicated employees who stayed well beyond their tenure. They were great at the start, they served a solid purpose, but the company's gone a different direction, yet those employees of ours, they're still kind of stuck doing the same thing. Or another analogy is it's like an old software program that's still running in the background, still determining what we believe is true and how we should feel and how we should act. It used to be helpful, but it's now just outdated. That's what a lot of these parts within us are. Helpful, but outdated for what we're trying to achieve now and for who we're trying to be for our family. Maybe you have an angry dad part who's the protector that steps in to try and control the chaos. Or an anxious mum who tries to manage everything so nothing goes wrong and tries to predict what may go wrong, so puts all of these steps and systems in place and these strict rules for us to abide by. And maybe there's a stressed out Simon or an overwhelmed Olivia. That's a part of us that's just so overwhelmed and feeling the pressure of running everything that they kind of shut down and withdraw, just doing their best to keep it all together. Or, like most of us dads, we have a logical Larry, which is the part of us that just can't understand why his logical solution to a complex emotional problem isn't being put in place. Like we told you for the last 14 times, the same things happen. These are the different parts of us that we may have that may exist. And look, these parts aren't bad. They're just protective. They're just trying to protect our internal system from stepping into a perceived threat or from stepping into a state of overwhelm. And again, they're good. They're trying to help us. But the problem is when these parts of us take over and they start running your system from survival and emotion instead of grounded leadership and connection. So how does this all work inside of our brains? So let's have a look inside of our brain and how this internal family system works in conjunction with our threat response and our hierarchy of information from the first video. So when your brain's at capacity for how much information it can process before slipping into overwhelm. Now remember from the first couple of videos, we had the invisible load plus we had the visible chaos. The system is triggered, the threat response system is triggered. So any more additional information that's coming in from that invisible load or from the visible chaos, it goes through the threat response, and if we're already processing too much, if there's already too much going on, our brain reads that information of whatever it is coming in. Could be a spill, could be our children not listening, could be some children fighting or whatever else it might be. Our brain will automatically read that as a threat, not because we hate our children, not because we want to yell, but because we're at a condition where the brain must survive. It must protect this system before we can care for and nurture everything outside of us and everyone outside of us. So when that happens, the information comes through. Because we're at capacity, it's already a threat. We don't have the ability for that information to pass all the way up into our logical thinking and reasoning brain to be able to reason and hold space with compassion and motion for everyone around us. It's received as a threat. So what it does is that information goes up into our autopilot mode and it activates our staff list. Okay, it has a quick list. The brain reads the external situation. It says, okay, what do we do from this external situation? It then disappears back into the past, back into our memory to have a look at how we should react or how we have reacted effectively in the past. Remember, not effectively in the past in a way that's going to help us get our desired result, effectively in the past in a way that's going to shut down any and all information and noise outside of us. And our brain might say, okay, you know what, from our staff list, this is where angry dad needs to come out. So our brain accesses angry dad. We have a look at what angry dad's pre-programmed responses are, which is how does angry dad shut down information? He yells. How does he shut down any more information come in? Angry dad yells and he snaps. So our brain then creates this program, activates this part of us. This part steps in, does its job and goes, right, let's shut the system down. Too much is going on. I'm now going to raise my voice. Or anxious mum, too much is going on, so I'm now going to fret and panic and make sure everyone's doing their own thing. Tired Terry might kick in, and each one of these different parts have a different pre-programmed autopilot automatic response stored within the library of the known information from yesterday. Our brain just automatically recruits whatever part it feels is going to have the most effective way to shut down any more processing of information, and their pre-programmed responses are activated. It could be yelling, mimicking, or being sarcastic at your children, mocking them perhaps, withdrawing or pampering for our child's requests, arguing and even downplaying our child's experience just to try and extinguish some of the flames. This is just a neurological safety mechanism. This doesn't mean you're a bad parent. It's biology protecting biology. Your survival brain and your emotional brain, they step forward. Complex reasoning, compassion goes completely out the window, and your brain is just there to do one thing and one thing only, and that's prevent this system from going into overwhelm, from going into neurological overload. All right, and it makes sense when you think about it. Our brain has millions of jobs. It has so many different things it has to do. Our brain is responsible for regulating temperature within our body, for making sure that enough blood is getting pumped through to our heart, that there's enough pressure within our veins, that our brain is being fed the right amount of oxygen. If we're processing too much information, the brain doesn't have the capacity to keep this system in this body alive. So I'll say it again, you're not a bad parent. There's nothing wrong with you. It is neurological safety. It is the biology and neuroscience of your brain and body just trying to keep the brain and body alive. And how is that all reflected? That's all reflected within our energy field. If we are at capacity, and our energy field will be firing off these different spikes in our emotional presence. We feel it, that tense energy. When you walk into the room and someone's really, really tense or angry, you don't need to know what's going on. You can feel it within their energetic patterns. So our energy field reacts instantaneously to whichever part of us is out at the moment, whichever part of our staff list, our employees, our internal family system has the helm. So when angry dad steps in, when that part of us comes out, our energy, our presence shifts into angry dad. You can feel it in the room, and then our children, they will recognize our field as danger, and their brain, their biology will do whatever it can in order to try and create safety for them. They might withdraw, they might cry, they might crack the tantrum, throw something, whatever they can do to try and regain control and create their own level of energetic safety. So when this happens, each one of our different parts, different electromagnetic field, different sense. And when we're in threat, when we're in our fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response, our field becomes erratic. And like I've said 3 or 4 times, and I'm going to nail this in, so I really, really hope you guys understand it, our children recognize our instability, and then they sink into our chaos. So this is why you can say all of the right things, but if your energy isn't calm and safe, if your presence, if the literal electromagnetic field that you're emitting outside of your body is not calm, is not safe, they still feel your chaos. And this again, this is what it means. This is a deeper understanding of what it means for us to be the thermostat, not the thermometer. So now that we have a basic understanding of our internal family system and how this whole system operates together, we can now move into step 1 of this 4-step psyche method, which is to separate, which is to create space between your reactions and your reality, to create space between the noise, the stimulus, whatever else it is, and then your automatic responses and these different parts of you that'll come out to try and shut it all down. So let's move into step 1 of the psyche method, which is separate. And here's the key. You can't regulate what you're fused with. Another way to say that is you can't change or you can't interrupt the patterns you can't see. But the moment you see that part, the moment you separate from it, you gain control of it because you are no longer it. All right, a great little example that I like to use is, let's just say that this book represents angry dad, okay? This book represents the part of me in my internal family system that is angry dad. If I am angry dad, I can't see angry dad. I can feel angry dad, I can feel anxious mum, I could feel overwhelmed Olivia or tired Terry. My goodness, do I feel them? And I can hear all of the stories, I can feel all the emotions, I can see the reactions. As angry dad, all I can be is angry dad. So when we look at step 1, separate, we look at creating space so we can step back, then we can see angry dad. Now all of a sudden, I have more available. Because as angry dad, the only thing available to me is angry dad. As anxious mum, the only thing available to me is anxious mum. We create space, we separate, we recognize that it's not us. Angry dad isn't me, anxious mum isn't me, it's just a part of me. And if it is a part of me, what that means is there's parts of me that can play a different role. And we know that feeling because we have the inner conflict. We have the part of us that is angry dad, but we have the part of us that doesn't want to be angry dad. We have the part of us that wants to be compassionate. We have the part of us that is anxious mum, but we also have the part of us that wants to be more grounded, more firm, more loving as a mum. So we have all of these different parts. Step 1, separate, is to create space between us and the part by recognizing and by languaging and labeling, it's not me, it's angry dad. Okay, angry dad's about to come out now. Anxious mum is about to come out now. Overwhelmed Olivia, I can feel her brewing up now. That's good. Because I am not her, I can do something about it. So this is where we apply the observer effect. And the observer effect states that the act of observing something, the act of witnessing something, changes how we feel about it. It also gives us the power to do something differently within it, aka the power to control. So when you witness your reaction without judgment, you shift out of these automatic responses, you shift out of autopilot reactions and whatever's available to angry dad. Why? Because once we recognize it as a part and we choose to observe it and see it and label it, we step outside of it. Now we are not at the effect of the automatic responses. And when that happens, we can step back into conscious leadership. We can be the leader of our parts rather than those parts coming out to lead us. You move from being inside the storm to just observing it, just watching it, having a look and seeing what's really going on here. The next step in the process, once we've created space, as you would have heard me do many times, is we want to name it. We want to create a label, a sub-personality, and identify that part of us as that part of us. This is where we can say angry dad's coming out now. or I can feel like angry dad's about to explode. Or when we notice ourselves being a little bit erratic and a little bit in a bit of a panic mode, we can say, okay, I can just pause and separate right now. Anxious mum is starting to come out. Or I can really feel stressed out, Simon. I can really feel the part of me that is stressed in our morning routine. I can really feel that part of me wanting to come out and try and gain control. Naming the part externalizes the part, so it's no longer me. Again, guys, naming the part is externalizing it, so I'm not underneath the spell, if you will, of the emotions and the automatic responses of how that part of you normally handles the situation. And that tiny, tiny shift in space gives you the power to lead it instead of being led by it. Now, this is the foundations of self-leadership. Before you can lead your children, you must become the calm, compassionate leader of your own internal family system. And you don't silence, judge, or shame your parts. Remember, they're just there to protect you. They're just there to try and protect this system. You guide them. You remind them that you, as the conscious leader, you, as the conscious self, the grounded self, that you're here now, that the war is over and the danger is gone. And when you lead from that place, your energy stabilizes, your brain re-engages our higher centers because we've removed the threat, we've stepped into conscious leadership. So now our brain can allow that information to come up into our higher faculties. We feel calm, and our child's nervous system starts to mirror that calm as well. When we have two synced nervous systems that are synced in calm, then we can communicate. Then we can get them to change their actions or behaviors. Then we have space within us to identify what their true challenge is, so we can help them move through whatever their emotional state is to be able to take the action required to achieve the goal, getting ready for school, finishing their homework, doing the dishes, whatever it is, the thousands of tasks that frustrate us as parents when we're trying to get our children and mold our children into being happy, healthy, beautiful children of God. That separation, that is first step of the S.I.C.I method. I'll see you over the next video where we will unpack and dive into step number 2.